Welcome back to the Grieving Sisters. I'm Jessica.
I'm Elizabeth.
And we are just, kind of just going down the line and just really interviewing some really amazing people. And I think that, just with everyone's experience, I don't know how you're feeling, that you are receiving a lot of different ways to help you cope too.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this community, we've been able to be on other people's podcasts and then they come on ours. And This is kind of what's happening today. We're so excited to have Shannon on today.
Hi, Shannon.
We were guests on her podcast.
Hey, Jess. Hi, Liz. Going through it. Yes. Well, hey, everyone. I'm Shannon Roane, and I am the founder of Highlight Your Healing, a creator of J&J. And really about how I got started with the whole grief journey is March 20, 2019. I experienced an ectopic pregnancy that led to emergency surgery. And that's really what started me with my grief journey. And then 4 months after that, I lost pancreatic cancer. And then 6 months after that, I just miscarriage. So that's what got me in grief, my grief journey, and really wanted to make an impact in the community to let other women know that they don't have to suffer in silence, and just be that voice for them.
Great. Yeah. I know, and we were on your podcast, and obviously you're not going to be out until July, but I think ours is coming out within, I think this week, right? You said the 15th or something?
It's in the next 2 weeks, I believe.
Okay. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be, we'll put all the information out. So tell us a little bit more about Highlight Your Healing. And obviously, you explained to us how you got there into the grief community, but how did Highlight Your Healing come into play?
Yeah, originally it started with J&J Journal. So a little bit about kind of my background. When I was grieving, I really didn't know how to put words to it and talk about it. Every time I talked about it, I would just get really emotional, and I started to write. Journaling was the one way that I could get those emotions onto paper. So I originally started with J&J journals, but as I started doing more work, became a certified grief coach, I wanted to do more in the grief, and that's where Highlight Your Healing came into play, because it was more than just journaling. So when you think about, when you're in school, you highlight, put an emphasis on, words, or highlight the important things. So for me, I really highlight your healing, to put an emphasis on healing. So that's Highlight Your Healing came.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you, and I know that you said journaling, can you tell us how did it help you during your hardest moments?
Yeah, like I say, it became a space for me. When I couldn't talk about it, I didn't have the words. It was very therapeutic for me. I like free write. Now I enjoy prompt, but back then I would really just free write whatever was on my heart, what was on my mind, all of those emotions, right? I just write it out. Spend time, just whatever it was I was feeling throughout the day, I would just sit there and write it. And then over time, I started gratitude, things that I was grateful for. Even though I went through a very tough time, I was grateful to be alive, because, things could have went completely different. I had internal bleeding. So if I didn't get to the emergency room, in a certain time frame, I may not be here tomorrow. So journaling really became that safe space. It was therapeutic for me. And it really, I know it sounds okay, but it was a lifeline for me to be able to get all of those thoughts and emotions on the paper.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I feel like it's underrated, journaling. I feel like it also has a bad rap. One of the things that I actually started recommending to my clients is doing voice notes, right? Because I'm already sending voice notes to my friends and it's 9 minutes long. I was like, okay, sorry for the mixtape, but this is what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I started to tell my clients, I'm like, hey, if you don't want to write it, why don't you talk about it? You know, why don't you just put it in a voice note and listen to it later? If you're angry, especially like anger, and again, right, it correlates because anger and grief are just like,
oh God, they're best friends.
Literally.
They're walking down, like anger and grief are walking hand in hand, you know, because it's like you're either going to be very sad or you're going to be really angry about what's happening.
Mhm.
You know, you're never going to be happy about it or grateful for it, you know? So it's like either you're heartbroken or you're just like angry at whatever, God, the universe, the circumstances,
Right.
time, natural order.
Right.
You know, like,
and I feel like even just, you know, just doing like a voice note, and sometimes, like, you know, when you're angry, it's like you're supposed to let the 90 seconds of that emotion pass through. As they say, it's supposed to be like 90 seconds or whatever. But in the same breath, it's like, okay, well, now you're sitting there F-bombing and cursing off a storm on this voice note. And then you're like, oh my God, I sound like a maniac, but I needed to get that out.
But I needed to get it out. Exactly. Absolutely. And, you know, I know with, you know, angry with God, there was also a time where I was mad at God. Like, why did you allow this to happen? So, you know, absolutely, you know, when I go back and look at the journals that I've written, you know, sometimes I go back to look to see how much I've grown and that I was able to work through and I've lived through. There were some very, very tough moments that I was going through.
Right. What do you think? What do you? And I feel like this is one of our questions that we always ask our guests, or at least that we try to ask our guests, especially when they're like grief coaches and stuff like that. Like, and they're in that realm and they are helping other people. Is what do you feel? Like people misunderstood and misunderstand still about grief.
Yeah, first, most people think grief is just a loss of a loved one. And, you know, grief can come in forms. It can be the loss of a job, miscarriage, a divorce, the loss of your identity, grieving the life that you thought you would have. So I think a lot of people that, you know, they misunderstand that grief that just comes with a funeral. And there are so many other forms of grief that doesn't. Also, you know, grief and joy can coexist. You know, a lot don't feel that way. When you're in that moment, in the thick of it, that's the only thing that you can think of is, you know, all of the things that, whether it's the loss of a loved one, loss of your job, you know, grieving the life that you have.
Right. You're grieving all the memories that you had with this person, but then you're also grieving like what could have been.
Yeah. So I, you know, talk about primary loss, secondary losses that follow it. So your primary loss could be a parent or a sibling or a, you know, aunt, uncle, grandparent. And then you think about all of those secondary losses that comes after that. You know, just looking back at the Kentucky Derby, the jockey, Jose, and when they were interviewing him, he was, you know, just thanking his parents, and he had mentioned, I wish my grandpa was here to see this. Yeah. I wish my grandpa was here to see that, right?
In all of our times of happiness. Like, I'm so glad you brought up that point. It's like, just because you see someone, and we were just talking about this with the last episode we recorded, is like, just because someone seems like they're happy, know that, yes, they're having a happy moment, but know that beneath those layers, beneath the smile, beneath the whatever accomplishment or good thing that they're sharing on social media, they are longing to share that. Let me say something. I am posting a picture on Instagram, and the only fucking person I want to see it and comment
is your sister.
Is my sister.
It's that dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody can be like, oh, she's this or she's that, or oh, you don't look like what you're going through. I don't. Because I'm never gonna be sad and ugly at the same time. Sorry. I'm gonna pick a struggle.
That's it. I was just about to say, you gotta pick a struggle at this point.
I'm already crying over my sister. You want me to pass a mirror and cry even more because I look like hell? No, I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm gonna take care of myself. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself. You have to do one thing a day to take care of yourself. It's moisturizing your lips and washing your hair. Amazing.
Right.
You know?
But you got through that.
But you got through that. And then you take a picture and you put it on social media and everybody goes, oh, she's good.
Right.
No, but I'm like, whatever I'm sharing, I'm so longing for that one person that isn't going to be there, you know?
Right.
Like, oh, I saw your Instagram picture.
Right.
Oh, you know, like stuff like that. So it's like,
it's really hard.
It's Billy Bob Thornton had talked about his brother. I probably have mentioned this clip 1,000 times just because it resonated with me so much, where he was talking about his brother and he said, I am 50% happy and 50% sad. This is how I felt since he died. This is how I believe I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. And it makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why, so now like we talked a little bit about rushing the healing process. Like, how do you feel like that should really look?
Yeah. Well, as we all know, it's not in a timeline, right? 1 year, 5 years, 3 months, you will still have those moments where you're your loved one. So yeah, don't rush it. And a lot of people think that when they hear the word healing, they think healing means you're gone from whatever the grief. That's not true, right? You know, I like to call it discovering what joy looks like after loss. So with some of my clients, I have them do a joy inventory. So, what's, the joy that so maybe it's something here with your loved one. What's that look like? And then the joy that's still exists. And it can be something small, on a walk and going a hot cup of coffee. And then the third thing is, what are the things maybe that you always wanted to try? And so you have these 3 columns, I call it the inventory, and you just take a look at that and know that yes, grief and joy can coexist. You can still find joy even after loss. It may look different than it was before, but when we look at this, you can identify things that I can laugh and not be guilty about it, right? So I like to do a joy story with my clients. Let them know that you can rediscover joy.
That's funny that you bring up the walk. The walk, it just reminds me of Rhea. Rhea, we had her on too. She's down in the ATL. I'm surprised you guys have, I don't know how big the ATL is, but I'm sure it's big. The only thing I know about ATL is Club 112, and I always wanted to go there. You know?
There's only one thing I really know about ATL.
That's it. That's
I'm not going to say it.
You know what? You know what? And you know what?
That's a different conversation.
It starts with magic.
Yeah.
I knew exactly where you're going.
That too. I didn't know where you were going. I was like, but that too. But yeah, she does like something called like a grief walk, and she also had like a grief retreat and stuff. I wonder if you guys connected. You guys are in the same neck of the woods. I'm surprised you haven't connected.
I've been seeing a lot more of that, grief retreats
and grief walks,
like walks, grief. Like it's really just a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was truly something that I did also, was just getting out in nature, and just taking a walk, right? Just going to a local park, walking through a trail, and just being by myself sometimes, listening to podcasts. That was something that got me through also. But walking, once I was ready, that was not something I could do early on, right? So when we talk about trying to rush through a process, don't rush yourself. Do what you can when you can, right? And I know it sounds cliche, a step at a time, right? Don't rush. Just do what feels comfortable for you. You're ready.
Right. Yeah. I think that's also extremely important because, again, I think in our last episode that we just recorded, that like because of societal standards, it's like, well, it's been 15 years, you still grieving them? Like, what does that have anything to do with you or the next person?
Right.
Like, what is it doing bothering you? Is it triggering to you because you didn't spend enough time in your grief? Like, that's where I start to look at it. Like, why are you projecting on other people? How do you feel that grief impacts identity, especially women?
Yeah. So I I know for myself, after my loss, I would say returning back to work is when I noticed it most. Like I felt like I showed up brain fog. I was less confident. I didn't speak up as much, and at the time, I didn't really have the language to put to it. Um, but I truly felt that after the losses that I had in 2019, early 2020, I felt the difference. I noticed the difference when I returned back to work that I wasn't my same self, right? And not that that necessarily was a bad thing, because I had to learn who I am becoming after loss. Um, but yeah, identity shift can definitely happen. You're not the same person. Loss changes, but you do the work to understand how to rediscover who I am beyond.
Yeah. And I do think that even when you went back to work, Liz, I feel like that was also like, Liz, I mean, who said it? Who was the one that said it? I think it was Suzette. She said, did you know that you get more time for what was it, jury duty than grieving?
Right. You get 5 days bereavement and you
Yeah.
get 7 days jury duty.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I would
Make it make
I
sense.
make it make sense,
How?
right? Yeah. I
It
work in
doesn't make,
HR.
yeah.
Most companies, they give the 3 to 5 days for the loss of an immediate family member. So a
Immediate. That's how I was
parent,
just gonna say.
yes,
Immediate. Yep.
immediate. So a
Right.
parent, a spouse, a child. 3 days? What is 3 days gonna do?
Right.
Right?
You're lucky I can
Yeah.
This
even
is
get the funeral together and look for the important paperwork.
So
yeah.
I got
I can barely get out of bed.
I got the news of my sister at my job. So
Wow.
that was really hard to go back to sit at a desk and pick up a phone that was the same phone that, so that took a while. I had to really through therapy, we really decided that finding another role, like these two women in the office were there for me when, like, think about it, when you receive the worst news of your life. I mean, crying, holding me up. Like, I have one phone on speaker. I'm trying to contact the police department because my sister died in a town that I wasn't familiar with. So I'm
Right.
trying to find the patrol of that town, and you know how it is. So, wonderful women who were there for me, who were just like didn't understand how I was working. Like, how are you here? I'm like, oh, I'm heavily medicated. oh,
here's a surprise. Here
a
you
bitch
go.
is high. Like, trust me. Like, trust me. Like, but yeah, I ended up having to take some time off, to kind of understand what work, what career, what that was going to look like for me, because driving was a factor because it was a car accident. So now I'm worried about commute times and safer roads and things like that. And it took a long time and some trial and error to find something that I think works for me. But it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just it's you can never ever outrun it. Like,
Nope.
I got this job, and then I do property management, and a gentleman died in his apartment.
Oh, this was just recent.
Oh
This was like 3 weeks into the job. It was like,
Wow.
hey, and then handling that, and who's the executor of the estate, and all this stuff. And it's like, I just went through this. Like, it's just crazy. So you have to prepare. It doesn't matter. You can change jobs, you can change cities, you can change towns, you can change boyfriends. Like, it's going to be there waiting for you, for you to process it. It's going to wait for you. So you might as well deal with it.
And might as well. I like to call, like, the functional griever, right? We get so busy, we work and we're doing all the things to try to suppress those emotions. And like you said, grief will wait for you. It'll just wait for you to slow down. It's still there. It never left.
Right. And that's the thing too. So what are some, like, gentle steps? Like, what are some ways that you help your clients to, without, right, sharing your whole entire thing that you do, right? Because I don't want you to like give us a session, even though I would love that, you know, right? Like I think we would all appreciate that. But like, what are some like gentle ways that, or gentle steps that, you know, some, you know, for someone in our audience that's listening?
Yeah, I always like to start with naming your grief, because I feel like a lot of people don't really truly understand what they're grieving. They can say, I'm grieving the loss of your parent. But like I said, we talk about the secondary grief, like what's underneath the layer. So kind of pulling back the layers and truly understanding what it is that you're grieving. Yes, you're grieving the parent, but it's all of those things that with it. So I like to say naming your grief. I also, encourage people to journal. That is the one thing that's very therapeutic. Um, Also, just being honest with yourself. It's okay to not be okay. Don't force yourself to try to be okay, to get back to work because you think, if I'm working, I'm not thinking about it. And I think a lot of people try to keep busy yeah. So we start with, I would say, the small thing, right? And kind of build on that. But the biggest thing is being honest with yourself, where you are right now, and not trying to rush it, because there's no timeline. Rush through this pain. Like I said, it could be 3 months, it could be 3 years, and you're still walking through that.
Yeah. My first conversation with a grief counselor post my sister's death, I said, I feel like I'm drowning. And she says, because you're fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're fighting it. It's like you're in water and you're drowning because you're just fighting. You're not even trying to like feel what the water is doing and going with the waves and like letting it do what it's got to do,
Right.
And it's true. It's like, because if you're just fighting it, you're like, I can't believe this. How could this happen? Whatever the situation, she's young. Like, how could you let this happen? And you're just like, I don't want to grieve, right? You don't want to grieve because you don't want to believe it.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like,
right.
So someone tells you like, you need to grieve. And that's what I think sometimes is like, we always ask this question about what's most misunderstood. But I feel like for us, it's like what I feel is so misunderstood about what me and Jessica are doing is like, we're telling you that you need to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're telling you that you need to do it. If you've grieved, if you have a reason to grieve in your life, you need to grieve.
Right.
Because if you don't, it's going to come up in other ways, like we've lived it.
Right.
So it's like, it's easy to like not watch the episodes or not really like, oh, so what's your podcast about? And
we get
so
that
what
a
do
lot.
you talk about
it's
all
so
the time?
crazy.
And is it healing? Is it a healing journey? I said, no.
Or are you guys always talking about heaviness? Like in this, I said, we were just talking about our favorite bra in a drawer. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah.
It's I think we have a very lighthearted approach to what we're talking about. I mean,
especially like the healing aspect of it. I feel like, it's not like polished. Like it's not like we're
keeping it funky.
Yeah. Right? Every chance we get. And obviously we like to laugh and we like to be goofballs. And again, right. I think you said it best. Sometimes you don't know what's in this cup. Sometimes you get water. Sometimes you get wine. Sometimes you get tequila. Sometimes you get beer. You never, well, the beer you would know because we'd be like, burr.
Right.
A Gatorade, you just never know what's in the special cup because you got to trust the process.
Trust the process. Look, and that process is different for everybody, right? Like, yeah.
Right? Like we're doing it and like we're being healthy and we're being, just funny about it. But it's so true. Like some people think that there's this polished version of grief that you're supposed to do it in this structured different way. And it's like, well, grief doesn't even come structured. Grief is non-linear and it's just like all over the place.
I think of a pinball machine.
Yeah.
Like I think of a pinball machine. Like sometimes it's like going and you're good. And then sometimes.
But you keep playing, you start over again, and it doesn't matter how many times you start over, you're getting back up and you're trying again. And that's the most important thing.
how can friends and family better support like someone going through loss? Like we just had our last guest that we had, Christina. She also talked about giving birth to a stillborn, and she also had her rainbow baby, and then she lost like umpteenth of people in between that time, and then lost someone that was like a brother to her. It was a close cousin who was the godfather of her daughter. I was like, did you feel like you had the support from your friends and family? How does that look like for you?
Yeah, support and community is so important. I would say for support, presence is better than having a perfect word. So just being present, showing up with food. Everybody has to eat. So, while your loved one is grieving, friend is grieving, they don't want to figure out what's for. Send some groceries to their house. There's Uber Eats, DoorDash, right? Help them feed themselves and their
DoorDash. She sent me DoorDash when my dad died. She was like, I have 2 kids and you have a young kid and you have an adult at home, your husband. Here's some, go buy them food. Go,
God,
you're not cooking.
Food is such a lovely thing. Like it's
no, it's a love language. You can say
it's
it.
such a lovely thing. Like it's something that's so simple, and it's like when somebody's grieving, you just want to take stuff off of them, and when they're parents or wives or they take care of others, it's really hard for them to even remember to eat.
Right.
Or to care for other people. I was very fortunate with that too. Like a lot of people sent me like Grubhub cards and things like that. And,
And I think that is important too. Like, especially, even after like a loss or even after a pregnancy, they're like, ain't nobody trying to cook. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you some. And like, how fortunate and how lucky are we that we can just kind of get trays of rice and beans and at least by us. I mean, I know y'all got, I don't know, I'm still gonna say Jersey has, we probably have the best of the best, because we're just like a huge melting pot. Like if you want soul food, you're gonna get some soul food. Oh, you don't want that, you want some jerk chicken and some some curry goats, you're gonna go get down the block and go get some curry goats, girl. So it's like we have the opportunity to do that, and I think that is also showing like a way to show up and a good way to show support. I also wanted to ask you, like, what is it that I feel some people who they'll never feel joy again, like they just feel so distraught that they're just like,
and it's, I would say in those early stages of grief, like even for myself, right, I felt like I could never get past it. Like this was the end. There was nothing that I could be happy about again. I would say that joy is on grief and joy, like I said. So with that joy that I talked about, start writing down something, right? What made you happy when you were with your loved one? What joy still exists today? And what are some things that maybe you've always wanted to try? So I start with a joy inventory, start looking at that list and talking about things that are realistic. So it may not all happen at once. It may take time, but that realistic time frame on, okay, maybe I'm going to start traveling again. This is something me and my loved one we used to do. I don't travel anymore because that person is not here. Maybe it's that, some realistic time frame that in the next year I want to take a trip, right? If that brings joy, I say set a realistic time frame on what it is that truly brings you joy, that maybe once did, still does, and maybe it's something you want to always try. But joy is on the other side of your pain.
I definitely see that. I feel like just a lot of people just haven't, they just feel so hopeless, right? They're like, okay, I can't live without this person, especially like a spouse. I feel like a spouse is that people are just like, oh my God, I can't live without them. Children, losing children, I feel like they're like, oh my God, I can't live my life without them. Like, I just feel like, they're thinking in the present. They are, at least they're being present, right? Like I can see that, but also it's like, are they being present? Like, we have to start adjusting life and living this new life, this new chapter, this new identity, this new, everything is going to be new without this person, but also maybe keeping their memory alive with you. I
Right.
feel
Yeah,
like, what do you think?
I agree.
Yeah, I had an executive that I used, and her son had a car accident. And she was saying, all these years, she had a daughter as well. She would just show up for everyone else and herself kind of on the back end of the page. She would do things to honor her son. But she mentioned she always wanted to play piano, to learn how to play piano. So when I talk about the things that she always wanted to try, so one day she, years later after her son had passed, she was like, I finally took the lesson. I finally took the piano lesson. And she was like, I wanted to learn a language. I believe she's now learning 2 languages. So it took time to get there, right? These are the things that she's always wanted to try. It took time for her to get there. Along the way, she did things to honor her son, but she also did things that, brought her joy. And it's not that you're forgetting about your loved one, but what are some things that you can, look forward to doing that brings you? Those were some of the things that she shared with me that she's not doing. So, yeah, I would say start with a joy inventory.
A joy inventory.
I love that.
I really do love that.
I'm going to work on that this week.
Right. Well, let's see. Because, like, for everyone else, it's like, yeah, I can do that, but just to sit there and sit in silence, right?
Mhm.
And I have a toddler, so sitting in silence is
few and far between.
Yeah, like I have to pick and choose my battles. So maybe while she's napping, I think, and we have the notes app. Why not, right? Like,
Right.
things are right at like, there's no excuse kind of deal, right? It's either you want to do it or you don't. And
you mentioned the voice note as well. So you can say, okay, these are the things that make me happy, that I want to try, that me and my loved one we used to do. So you can even leave yourself a voice note. You don't have to write it down and have toddlers as well. So I understand you may not have the time to sit down and actually write it out, but a voice note that can work as well.
and what things, I think, and just to kind of wrap up, what are some things that you used to help you along your journey? Of course, starting, the highlight of your healing. I love that. But, like, what are some things that you did that may be able to help somebody in our audience?
Yeah, like I said, I started journaling. Journaling was that one thing that really helped me. Also, a hospital there called the Heartstring Program, and they pair you with like a peer companion of a similar loss. So I started working with there. And also now I'm a volunteer where I'm able to give back and impact for other women who have had ectopic pregnancies. I also saw a therapist. I thought that was very important for me to be a therapist as well. So I found someone that I felt like was a good match. And the day that I walked, the very first day of my therapy, the therapist was pregnant. And yeah, well, I'm like, there has to be like a camera on the wall, like, yeah, like, but I really enjoyed my time with her, that I stayed with her, and I kept in touch with her, after that, after my sessions. But I would say journaling, taking walks. Like I said, just getting out in nature when you're ready, because there were times when I couldn't get out of bed. But as, I started to, and I use the word heal very lightly, that's when I was able to get up and get out and take a walk. Also, telling your story, because telling your story is healing. That was a big part of the healing journey as well, is telling my story, because you never know who else may need to hear your story, how it can impact. Maybe they're going through something. So those are some of the things that helped me out during the time that I was, going through a very tough
Right. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And thank you so much for coming on our episode. And we'll be cross episode and just reposting and posting. And how can everyone, although like we'll be tagging you, but how can anyone find you and maybe work with you as a grief coach? Can you let our audience know?
Yeah, I am on Instagram at highlight_your_healing. And my website is highlightyourhealing.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you. And thank you to our audience for always checking in. We are now at episode 67. This is incredible stuff.
Incredible.
Yeah. And a full year and some change of doing this it's been a lot. It's been a journey for us and learning so much and really just putting everything forward so that we can help the next person. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, and Instagram. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. What else? Forward. I mean, we just try to put everything out there as much as we can because you just never know who can use it. And we just don't want anyone to do it alone. Yeah. It sucks. Right?
Yep. There's community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.